At 5:12 a.m., Daniel's alarm rang for the third time. He had already been awake for 20 minutes. Not because he was motivated, but because his mind had started calculating before his body could rest. Mortgage, childcare, insurance, a credit card balance he hadn't mentioned to anyone. By 6 a.m., he was dressed. By 6:40, he was commuting. By 8, he was at his desk. He worked harder than most people in that building, and yet nothing was changing. Daniel was 35, married, one child, another on the way. He worked as a mid-level operations manager in a regional distribution company. Stable income, respectable title, predictable routine. He believed deeply in effort. He wasn't the loudest in the room, he wasn't the most charismatic, but he was dependable. He stayed late, fixed other people's mistakes, took on projects no one wanted. His manager trusted him. His colleagues leaned on him. And he carried one quiet assumption: if I keep working this hard, it will eventually pay off. That belief had guided his entire adult life. The promotion was supposed to come in the first quarter. It had been implied more than once. You're next in line. Those 4 words fueled 3 extra months of unpaid overtime. He trained new hires, solved operational breakdowns, prevented a costly client loss. He even declined a side consulting opportunity from a former colleague because he needed to stay focused. Then the announcement came. The promotion went to someone else, someone with fewer years at the company, someone who spoke confidently in meetings, who presented ideas strategically, who had built stronger internal visibility. Daniel congratulated him, smiled, clapped. That night, he drove home in silence. At first, he told himself it was temporary, next cycle. But something heavier started forming beneath the surface. 5 years of consistent effort, minimal salary growth, rising living costs. When he calculated his net worth honestly for the first time, the number unsettled him. Years of discipline, still financially vulnerable. One emergency would destabilize everything. One job loss would collapse the structure. That realization was not dramatic. It was quiet, which made it more dangerous. He began noticing something uncomfortable. The company valued his reliability, but it did not reward it proportionately. He was essential in effort, replaceable in impact. And then came the thought he had avoided for years. Hard work had made him tired, but it had not made him wealthy. He wasn't irresponsible, he wasn't reckless, he was disciplined, but he had confused effort with leverage, and no one had ever corrected that belief. 3 weeks after the announcement, Daniel made a subtle shift. He stopped staying late automatically, not from resentment, from awareness. He began observing instead of reacting. He watched how decisions were made. He studied who influenced budgets. He analyzed how revenue was actually generated, not just how processes were maintained. And he noticed something critical. The company did not reward the hardest worker. It rewarded the person closest to measurable impact and strategic value. That realization unsettled him, but it also freed him. For the first time, he questioned his entire approach to building wealth. What if the issue wasn't effort? What if it was direction? Here is the uncomfortable truth. Hard work alone does not create wealth. Strategic alignment does. Wealth psychology is not about how intensely you work. It is about whether your work compounds. Does your effort increase your earning ceiling? Does it build equity? Does it move you closer to ownership? Does it create leverage? Or does it simply help maintain someone else's system more efficiently? Daniel had optimized for approval and reliability. He had not optimized for positioning and scalability. Effort without leverage becomes exhaustion, and exhaustion does not compound. At Syrulon, we operate from this principle. Work should increase your ownership, your leverage, or your earning power. If it increases none of the three, it is maintenance, not wealth creation. Maintenance is necessary, but if maintenance consumes your entire capacity, growth becomes impossible. Time is finite. Energy is finite. Effort must be allocated deliberately. Otherwise, you can spend a decade climbing efficiently in the wrong direction. Daniel didn't resign impulsively. That would have been emotional. Instead, he reallocated effort. He pursued training that positioned him closer to analytics and revenue forecasting, areas tied directly to decision-making. He adjusted his finances to increase investments, even modestly. He revisited the consulting opportunity, this time building systems instead of trading spare time. He began speaking more strategically in meetings, presenting numbers, linking operations to profit. 18 months later, his income changed, but more importantly, his trajectory changed. The stress felt different. It wasn't survival stress, it was growth stress, and there is a difference. Many adults today are disciplined, responsible, exhausted, working harder each year, yet financially static. The real question is not, are you working hard? The real question is your effort building an asset or sustaining an obligation? One compounds, the other drains. If you continue exactly as you are for the next 5 years, same energy allocation, same positioning, same strategy, where will you actually arrive? And is that destination intentional? This is Sunday Stories with Syrulon.